You want click?
Alt tab.
चलो.
Okay, good morning class. We are going to start with the geotechnical engineering, which is also known as soil mechanics. So it is origins of soils, soil structure and fabric, three-phase system and phase relationships, index properties, unified and Indian standard soil classification system. This is soil mechanics we are going to study by Department of Civil Engineering, Anjuman College of Engineering and Technology. I am Professor Ashmi Bade. So what is origins of soils? So soils are formed by weathering of rocks and decomposition of organic matter. Therefore, soils may be organic or inorganic, which depends upon source of origin. Organic soils are called as cumulose soils. For example, peat, humus, muck, etc. What is geological cycle? As in geology, you have studied the geological cycle, which is weathering of rocks, transportation, decomposition and upheaval. So here we can see in this figure that first erosion is done. Erosion is known as weathering of rocks. Then transportation is done. Then transportation of soil is done. Then there is a decomposition process. Then there is an upheaval process. And again the process is coming to erosion. So this is the geological cycle. First, weathering of rock is done, which is known as erosion, then transportation, then decomposition, then upheaval, and then again erosion. So likewise, this cycle continues in the process. Then types of weathering. There are two types of weathering. One is physical and another is chemical weathering. So first we'll study what is physical weathering. It is due to the physical effects like temperature, abrasion, wedging, action of ice, penetration of plant roots, etc. In this, the temperature plays an important part. By this temperature, whether it is rainy season, winter season or summer season, the physical effects of temperature is there on the soil, especially when those are cohesion soil. There may be abrasion. Wedging of ice means where there are in northern sides or in the areas where ice is there, then wedging of ice is there. Then penetration of plant roots. First, plants are small, so roots grows. When roots grows, they just try to push your rocks downwards. They break into pieces and then they are formed as soil. After this, physical weathering results in no change in chemical composition of particles. So it says that physical weathering in no change in chemical composition. As the physical weathering is done by temperature, abrasion, wedging of ice, plantation, penetration, so chemical composition is not taking place. It produces coarse grained and non-cohesive soils. Coarse grained means the soil which is passing through 4.75 mm sieve, and those are non-cohesive soil. That means sands and gravels. Here the example is given. So what are non-cohesive soils? In which when you add water, it will not swell, it will drain the water, so the permeability will be very more, and when you remove the water, it will not break or it will not crack, so it will not shrink. So those are non-cohesive soils, for example gravel and sands. Next is your chemical weathering. So chemical weathering, it is due to chemical actions, oxidation, hydration, carbonization, solution, leaching, hydrolysis, etc. All this process in chemical action take place one by one in the soil, and it is found in cohesive soils mainly, such as black cotton soils, which is having a montmorillonite clay present in it. All right, so first is oxidation process, after that hydration is then. Hydration means heat of hydration takes place, carbonization. Solution, that means the soil, if water is added, will swell, and when you remove the water it will try to dry and it will try to shrink. So leaching is also a process and hydrolysis is also a process. So this takes place due to the chemical reactions. Next point is origin rock minerals are transformed into clay minerals. First, there is a parent rock. When the physical weathering is done, chemical action is taken place, the rock turns into small parts, grains of soils, and those grains are soils are transformed into clay minerals, in which it results in fine grained and cohesive soil. Fine grained means the soil which is passing through 4.75 mm sieve and retaining. So the cohesive soils are those soils which, when having a swell shrink property. Now what is swell shrink property? When you add water it will try to swell enormously, and you remove water it will shrink, and there may be big cracks in the soil, such as black cotton soil. If you can see that if you add water in it in rainy season in agricultural land, it swells like uh, it is disturbing the roots also, it is disturbing the structures also, and when you remove water you can see that big cracks like 15 to 30 meters are done. So for this chemical weathering, the example is clays such as black cotton soil, which is having montmorillonite soil, a clay particle, clay mineral, which is said to be very expensive soil because its swell shrink property is very big. Then you are having the sedimentary rocks soils. These soils particles created at one location, transported and finally deposited in another location. Sedimentary soils are obtained from the deposition of magma. First they are formed as igneous rocks, then they are very light particles in the sedimentary soils like sandstone, limestones, and they are very brittle. So next you can see, we'll see some source of transportation and deposition, and then we'll see what type of soils this source of transportation and deposition have. So first is your river, alluvial soils. Next is your lakes, lacustrine soils. Sea, you get marine soils. Wind, alluvial soils, for example sand dunes and loess. Wind, sand dunes are which are found in the you can see there we are having Rajasthan, so we have sand dunes there. Lowest soil is also there. Then gravitation, colluvial soils, that is for example talus is there, and glacier deposit soils, drift and tilt soils. Next is your residual soils. So residual soils, these are soils which remain on parent rock without getting deposited. So these soils means the parent rock, by physical and chemical weathering, the parent rock is broken into small grains of soils, but they are not deposited from one place to another. So those soils are known as your residual soils. And those soils which are transported from one place to another by means of wind, water, air, those soils are known as your transported soil. So residual soils which are not transported from one place to another are black cotton soils and laterite soils. Then next is your gravitational forces are predominant in gravels and sands. Gravitational force, you all know that what is gravitational force, the tendency of having by weight pull down in the negative direction. So the gravitational force is found in gravels and sands because they are weighted, so they are settling down very easily. But this is not seen in cohesive soils as they are light in weight, they are particles, dimensionless quantity, so they will not settle down very fast and they will try to become the dust particles. Surface forces, chemical forces, electrical forces are predominant in clays. So gravitational force is found in gravels and sand, which can settle down fast, and surface forces, chemical and electrical forces are predominant in clay soils such as black cotton soils, alluvial soils. Now we'll see some commonly used designations of soils. So here are soils and they are having certain designation. So first is Varved clay, contains alternate thin layer of clay and silt. It is generally a lacustrine deposit. So it is named as Varved clay. Why it is mentioned? Because it is having a very thin layer of clay and silt. That means if you do the sieve analysis in 75, 150 and 75 micron sieve, you can see a very dust like particles, those are known as clay and silt. When you try to weight it from your sieve, you transfer it into the weighing dish, it some of the soil is removed or it goes in air, so that's why it is clay and silt. So lacustrine deposit is one of the biggest example of Varved clay. Second is Muru. It is gravel mixed with red clay. Okay, this is seen in hilly areas mostly. It is gravel mixed with red clay, means they are gravelly soil with red clay type of soils, means cohesive soil is reddish mixture is found there. Then loam, mixture of sand, silt and clay, again from 600 micron to 75 micron. In the sieve analysis, if you do, you will get sand, silt and clay, so it is approximately in equal proportion. Then bentonite soil, it is a decomposed volcanic ash which contains high percentage of clay mineral. For example, montmorillonite exhibits high degree of shrinkage and swelling. I have already told you that black cotton soil also is having a montmorillonite clay. Bentonite also is having a montmorillonite clay. So these soils are having a very big property of shrinkage and swelling. When you add water, it will try to swell, and when you remove water, it will try to shrink. Now definition and properties of soils. So first is soil phase system. So in this soil phase system there are three steps. One is your solid phase, second is your liquid phase, and next is your gas phase. So liquid and solid phase and solids. In this figure you can see this is grains of soils. So in this you can see this brown type of particles are soil solids, this white color which we can say that this is air, and this blue color you can say that this is water. So these are two voids, water phase and gas phase are voids, and there is soil solids. So upper layer air, water and solid, we in soil mechanics define it as air, water and solid. So unsaturated soil mass contains or consists of soil solids plus water plus air. It is a three-phase system. Why it is called as three-phase system? Because it is having solid also, it is having liquid also, it is having gas also. Then fully saturated soil consists of solids plus water. It is two-phase system. Fully saturated means there is no air. If there is air present in the soil solid particles, the voids are occupied by water. That's why it is said as it is a two-phase system. Fully dried soil consists of solids plus air. It is a two-phase system again. It means that when it is fully dried, water molecules are evaporated, and voids where water molecules will be there, their air is deposited. That's why it is also called as two-phase system. Now voids ratio. What is voids ratio? When void is there, void ratio you have to calculate by VV upon Vs, where VV is your volume of voids and Vs is your volume of soil solids. In this VV, both are considered air and water, and in Vs only soil solid voids are considered. What is the range? So you can say that they are can have any value greater than 0. Okay, so sometimes E may also be greater than 0. Voids ratio for coarse grained soil is generally less than that for fine grained soils. When spherical grains are arranged in cubical array, the maximum possible voids ratio is 0.91. When spherical grains are arranged diagonally, the least void ratio is E equals to 0.35. So remember students that if there are cubical array type arrangement in the soils particles, especially when they are rounded shape, then you are having E greater, which is 0.91, and when they are having the they are present diagonally again in the round or spherical grain shape, then the voids ratio is 0.35. This can change if you originally calculated. Next is your porosity. So porosity is defined as N equals to VV upon V. Here VV again is voids of air plus water, and V is your total volume of soil solids plus air plus water. It is also called as percentage voids. So what is the range? 0 less than N less than 100%. It is called as percentage voids. That's why it is presented as percentage. Relation between N and E is given as N equals to E upon 1 plus E, where E is your void ratio and N is your porosity. Degree of saturation. So degree of saturation, as it is denoted by SR, where S is your saturation and R is for degree. Therefore it is given by volume of water upon volume of voids into 100, which is VW upon VV into 100. So range is 0 less than equal to SR less than equal to 100%. For fully saturated soils, SR is equals to 1 or 100%, and for dry soil, SR is 0. So saturation means when there is full percentage of water is there everywhere in the soil and there is no air, then SR is equals to 1 and it is said to be 100%. And soil is dry, that means there is no water percentage in that, then SR equals to 0. Then there is air voids AC. So AC is equals to VA upon VV, where VA is your air voids and VV is your voids ratio air plus water. For a saturated soil, AC is equals to 0. That means air content is 0. And for dry soil, Na equals to N. So the range will be 0 less than equal to Na less than equals to 1. Here AC plus SR is given to you as 1. Then you have percentage air voids Na, which is calculated by VA upon V into 100, where VA is your volume of air and V is total volume of air plus water plus soil solids. For a saturated soil, Na is equals to 0, and for a dry soil, Na is equals to N. Remember that when water is present, it is known as your saturated soil. That's why air voids will become 0, and for dry soil, it will become totally N. So what will be the range? 0 less than equals to Na less than equals to N. So therefore Na equals to N into Ac. So N is your porosity and Ac is your percentage air voids or air contained, it is called. Next is your water content or moisture content, W. So W is calculated by W equals to weight of water upon weight of solids into 100. So weight of water means WW upon WS is your weight of soil solids. It is expressed in percentage, that's why multiplied by 100. Therefore what will be the range? The range can have any value greater than 0. Sometimes it can be greater than 100%. Next is your bulk unit weight of soil. So gamma equals to total weight upon total volume of soil solids, that is given by WW plus WS upon V. So WW is weight of water plus WS is weight of soil solids and total volume. So total volume is of volume of air plus volume of water plus volume of soil solids. Next is your dry unit weight of soil. So that is given gamma D equals to weight of soil solids upon total volume of soil, which is given by WS upon V. So this is weight of solids WS upon total volume of soil solids and total volume of air voids and total volume of water W. Next is unit weight of soil solids. So gamma D equals to weight of solids upon total volume of soil. So that is taken as WS, again WS upon V, where gamma is S is constant for a given soil, the gamma D is not constant. Next is saturated unit weight, gamma sat. So it is bulk unit weight when soil is fully saturated, that means there is no air void present, all the voids are taken and they are having fully water in present inside it. It is also equal to total weight of soil when fully saturated per unit of the total volume. So next is your submerged unit weight, gamma sub or gamma dash. It is submerged unit weight of soil solids per unit weight of total volume of soil. So gamma dash equals to gamma set minus gamma W will give you submerged unit weight. When dash is applied, it is known as your submerged unit weight. That means soil is under the water, submerged inside the water. Next is your specific gravity of soil solids or soil, which is denoted as G or GS. It is the ratio of weight of given volume of soil solids at a given temperature to the weight of an equal volume of distilled water at the temperature. It means that G equals to gamma S upon gamma W. By IS code, the measuring of temperature is 27 degrees. So gamma S is unit weight of soil solids and gamma W is your unit weight of water. For a given soil, G remains constant. Generally, G for inorganic soils lies between 2.6 to 2.85. Then apparent or mass or bulk specific gravity of soil, which is given by Gm is equals to gamma upon gamma W for partially saturated soils, Gm gamma D upon gamma W for dry soil, and Gm gamma sat upon gamma W for saturated soil. When there is water and air present, then it will be bulk unit weight. When the soil is dry, then it will be gamma D. When the soil will have water, then it will be gamma sat. So Gm is also not constant. So Gm is always greater than calculated G. So that is known as your apparent or mass or bulk specific gravity of soil solids. Next is important relationships. So important relationships are E equals to Wg upon Sr. So W is your water content, G is your specific gravity, and Sr is your saturated unit weight or saturated degree or saturation degree. B is your gamma equals to gamma W, G plus E into SR upon 1 plus E. Here again gamma W is your unit weight of water, G is specific gravity, E is your void ratio, SR is your degree of saturation. Next is your gamma sat equals to gamma W G plus E upon 1 plus E, where gamma sat is your saturated unit weight. Gamma W unit weight of water, G specific gravity of soil, E is your void ratio. Gamma D equals to gamma WG upon 1 plus E. Again gamma D equals to gamma upon 1 plus W, where gamma is your bulk unit weight and W is your water contained. Gamma D equals to 1 minus Na gamma Wg upon 1 plus W into G, where Na is your percentage air voids, gamma W is your unit weight of water, G specific gravity, W water content. Gamma equals to gamma D plus Sr into gamma sat minus gamma dash. This is gamma dash, not gamma D. Next is your relationship between volumes of soil with respect to void ratio. So V1 upon V2 equals to 1 plus E1 upon 1 plus E2. That will give you gamma D2 upon gamma D1. So V1 is for volume of one sample, V2 is for volume of second sample, E1 is and E2 are again the void ratios, and gamma D2 and gamma D1 is your dry unit phase for one and second soil layers. Water content determination is done by oven drying method. There are many methods: carbide method, chemical method, balloon method, but we are in laboratory all perform oven drying method. So this is most accurate method among all. Temperature to be maintained in the oven for oven drying method is 105 degree to 110 degree centigrade for 24 hours. For highly organic soils, a low temperature of about 60 degree centigrade is preferable. If gypsum is present, temperature should not be more than 80 degree centigrade, but for long time. So normally if you are taking a handful of soil, the temperature by IS code is given to you as 105 and 110 degree centigrade. But if you are taking organic soil such as black cotton soil, bentonite soil, then the temperature should be 60 degree centigrade. Low temperature is required, and if you do the chemical composition and you find gypsum is present in the soil, then the temperature should be 80 degrees centigrade and it should be kept for longer time, greater than 24 hours. Next is your specific gravity determination. It is given by oven drying soil sample is used. G equals to W2 minus W1 upon W2 minus W1 minus W3 minus W4. So first W1 weight of pycnometer. Pycnometer or density bottle is used. Density bottle is used for cohesive soil, and Pycnometer is used for non-cohesive soil. So W1 is the weight of pycnometer. W2 is the weight of pycnometer plus dry soil sample. W4 is weight of pycnometer plus dry soil sample plus water. W4 is the weight of pycnometer plus full water. So this will give you specific gravity G. Now there is one example. The specific gravity of a soil sample is 2.7 and its void ratio is 0.945. So if it is fully saturated, what will be the moisture content of the soil? So what is given? Specific gravity is given to you as 2.7 and E is given to you as 0.945. For fully saturated soil, SR is to be taken as 1 as it is 100%. There is no air void present in that. So we are using the relationship E equals to WG upon SR. What is to be calculated? If the fully soil sample, what is the moisture content? So we have void ratio, we have specific gravity, so we are having SR also. So this relationship is used. E equals to WG upon SR. E is given to you as 0.945 equals to W. Specific gravity is 2.7 upon 1, so therefore W is coming to you as 0.35, which will be 35%. So water content or moisture content is calculated as 35%. So second example, if a sample of dry weighs 120 gram and its volume is 80 ml. If the specific gravity is 2.8, what will be the void ratio? The void ratio of the sample is what? So what is given? G is given to you as 2.8. Dry unit weight is given to you as 120 gram. Volume is given to you as 80 ml, 80 cc. So what will you apply? Which formula you will apply to get void ratio? So for calculating gamma D, G gamma W upon 1 plus E, you are having G. You can assume gamma W equals to 1 or 9.81. So we are assuming here 1. So gamma D is not known to us, but weight and volume are given. So you can calculate gamma D equals to Ws upon V. So Ws is 120, volume is 80, so it is coming as 1.5 gram per cc. So therefore 1.5 equal to 2.86 into 1 for gamma W upon 1 plus E. Therefore E will come as 0.86. Next is the true and apparent specific gravity of a fully saturated soil are 2.7 and 2 respectively. So the void ratio of the soil is, so what is given? G is given to you as 2.7. Fully saturated is mentioned, therefore 100% saturation is there, so it will be SR equals to 1. So you have to calculate the true and apparent specific gravity is given to you. So true and apparent specific gravity 2.7 and 7. So Gm equals to gamma sat upon gamma W is given to you as 2. So gamma sat equals to gamma W G plus E upon 1 plus E. So therefore if you assume gamma W equals to 1, so that's why Gm will be 2 here. So gamma sat will be 2 here. So 2 equals to 2.7 plus E upon 1 plus E. Therefore E will be equals to 0.7. Fourth, the weight of a container is 40 gram and the weight of the container and the weight of soil sample is 10 gram. So on oven drying for 24 hours, the weight of container with dry soil is found to be 80 gram. What is the water content of the soil? Okay, so what is given? Weight of container, yani W is given to you as 40 gram. Then weight of container plus weight of soil is 100 gram. Then weight of soil, wet soil, how you will calculate? W will be total soil, weight of container and weight of wet soil minus weight of container will give you weight of soil 60 gram, and weight of dry soil is 80 minus 40 will be 40 grams. So therefore W will be W minus WD upon WD into 100. So 60 minus 40 upon 40 into 100 equals to 50%. Now soil structures and clay mineralogy. This is very important. When you know the soil structure and clay mineralogy of any type of a soil, it becomes very easy to take the decision what type of properties of soil you have to calculate. Whether you have to calculate index properties of soil or engineering properties of soil. So soil structure, it is a geometrical arrangement of soil particles in a soil mass. The behavior of soil depends on the soil structure. Important types of soil structure depending upon the particle size and mode of formation, the following are the important types. One is your single grain, honeycomb, flocculated, dispersed, composite structure. So single grain structures, an arrangement composed of individual soil particles. It is present in soils like gravel and sand. Honeycomb, an arrangement of soil particles having a comparatively loose, stable structure resembling honeycomb-like structure. The soil mass is composed of loosely arranged bundles of particles irrespective of arrangement of the particles within the bundles. So first structure shows the single grain and the second structure shows the honeycomb. Next is your flocculated structure, an arrangement composed of flocks of soil particles instead of individual soil particles. The particles are oriented edge to edge or edge to face with respect to one another. Dispersed structure, an arrangement composed of particles having a face to face or parallel orientation. One is your flocculated structure, second is your dispersed structure. You can see edge to edge connection and edge to face connection. Here you can see face to face connection. When soil contains different types of particles, a composite structure is formed. Next, when soil contains different types of particles, that means you have cohesive as well as non-cohesive soil, that means gravel, sands, black cotton soil, bentonite soils, then those structures are called as composite structures. Remolding causes a loss of strength in cohesive soil. When soil is in static condition, rest condition, if you move it by any type of apparatus such as auger boring or that, the soil is remolded and those loses the strength of soil in cohesive soil such as black cotton soil. Thixotropy, the phenomenon of regaining of lost strength with the passage of time with no change in water is known as thixotrophy. Regaining lost strength, that means again the remolded soil, again when it is compacted or the time is passed, the soil is left as it is, then there is no change in water content, then it is known as your thixotrophy. Then clay mineralogy. In gravel and sands, rock minerals like quartz, feldspar, mica, etc. are present. In clays, clay minerals are present such as kyanite, elite, and mormonite, halloysite, etc. Next is your kyolanite. Kyolanite is the most common mineral of the kyoline group. The kyolanite structure unit is made of gypsite sheets with aluminium atom at their centers joined to silica sheets through the unbalanced oxygen atom at the apexes of the silicas. This structure unit is symbolized by which is about 7 Armstrong, 10 raised to minus 7 and 10 raised to minus 10 m is the thickness of one gypsum plus silica sheet. The kaolin mineral or crystal is stacking of such 7 Armstrong thick sheets symbolized as shown in figure. You can see that one is the gypsum sheet, another is silica sheet, one is gypsum sheet, another is silica sheet. In between there is a hydrogen bond, and one gypsum and silica sheet combinedly have 7 Armstrong space. Next is your montmorillonite clay. This is the most common of all the clay minerals in expensive clay soils. The mineral is made up of sheet-like units. The basic structure of each unit is made up of gypsite sandwiched between two silica sheets and is symbolized as figure shown in figure. The thickness of each is about 10 Armstrong and the dimension in the other two directions are indefinite. The gypsite layer may include atoms of aluminium, iron, magnesium, or a combination of these. In addition, the silicon atoms of tetrahedral may be interchanged with aluminium atoms. These structure changes are called amorphous changes and result in a net negative charges on the clay minerals. Cations which are in soil, water, that is Na plus, Ca double plus, K plus, etc. are attracted to the negatively charged clay plates and exist in a continuous state of interchange. If you can see, first layer is your silica sheet, gypsite sheet, silica sheet again, or gypsite sheet, silica sheet, gypsite sheet. So this one layer thickness is your 10 angstrom and it is having a K potassium bond in between. It may also have Na bond or calcium bond. Next is your elite mineral. The structure of elite is similar to that of montmorillonite, except that there is always substantial replacement of silicons by aluminium in the tetrahedral layer, and potassiums are between the layers serving to balance the charge resulting from the replacement and to tie the sheet units together. The basic unit is symbolically represented as shown in the figure. This is your gypsite sheet, silica sheet, gypsite sheet. In between it is having a potassium ions. It is 10 angstroms. That's why it is called as elite mineral. Halloysite, it is just like a kyolanite sheet of 7 angstrom. Specific surface area, it is the total surface area of soil particles per unit weight or per unit volume of soil solids. Finer the soil, higher the specific surface area. Montmorillonite clay mineral has largest specific area, about 800 meters square per gram. Because it is highly expensive, Montmorillonite clay is highly expensive. and it is present in bentonite and black cotton soil, which is having a highly potential of swelling and shrinkage. Next is your index properties of soil. So index properties, these are the properties useful for classification and identification of soil. Also give rough estimation of engineering properties of soil. That means when you do the index properties of soil, when you calculate water content, specific gravity, Atterbury's limits, then you can identify that which type of soil is there, and you can just estimate or just think which engineering properties you have to calculate, such as permeability, UCS, direct shear test, unconfined compression test. So all these tests you can determine. For example, particle size distribution and relative density for coarse soils, and consistency limits for fine grained soils. Engineering properties, these are the properties useful for engineering applications. For example, permeability, compressibility and shear strength. Compressibility can be calculated by your Proctor test, and shear strength you can calculate by direct shear stress, from where you get C as well as phi. It is having UU test, CU test and CD test. Next is your shape of particles. Engineering properties of coarse grained soil depends on shape of particles, where it is rounded, angular, flaky, elongated. Then particle size distribution. Sieve analysis is used for coarse grained soils. Wet sieve analysis is suitable if soil contains fines. Sedimentation analysis or wet analysis is used for fine grained soils finer than 75 micron size. It means that it is a particle which is not having any dimension, and we called it as dust. It can be in air for many time. Sedimentation analysis is based on the Stokes law. Stokes law is valid if the size of the particle is between 0.2 mm and zero point 0.2 micron. From mm to 0.2 micron. So Stokes law, terminal velocity Vs is given by 1 by 18 d square gamma s minus gamma w upon mu, or Vs equals to g upon 18 s minus 1 into d square upon v. D is your diameter of particle, gamma s is your unit weight of particle, mu is dynamic viscosity of water, v is kinematic viscosity of water, mu upon rho. Grading of soils, the distribution of particles of different sizes in a soil mass is called grading. The grading of soils can be determined from the particle size distribution curves. Figure means this figure shows the particle size distribution curves of the different soils. So have a look on this figure. On x-axis you has particle size d in mm, and here percentage finer n. So 0.001 on the log scale. When you draw this curve, if you get this type of curve in sieve analysis determination, then it is coarse grained soil. If you get this type of curve, then you can say it is a gap graded soil. If you get this S type of curve, then you can say that this is well graded soil. If you get this type of curve, then you say that it is a uniformly graded soil. If you get this type of curve, then you can say it is fine graded soil. A curve with a hump, such as curve A, represents the soil in which some of the intermediate size particles are measuring. Such are known as your gap graded or steep graded. A flat S curve such as B represents a soil which contains the particle of different sizes in good portion. proportion. Such soil is called as well graded or uniformly graded soil. A steep curve like C indicates a soil containing the particle of almost the same size. Such soils are known as uniform soils. The particle size distribution curve also reveals whether a soil is coarse grained or fine grained. In general, a curve situated higher up and to left, curve D indicates a relatively fine grained soils, whereas the curve situated to the right E indicates the coarse grained soil. So all these curves, A gap graded, B well graded, C uniform, D fine grained, and E is your coarse grained soils. So effective size or effective diameter D10 expressed in mm, it means only 10% of particles are finer than same size. Next is your coefficient of uniformity. So coefficient of uniformity Cu is given to you. Please have a look. Cu is given to you as D60 upon D10. So where D60, what is D60? So D60 is particle size such as 60% of a soil is finer than this size, and 10% is finer than 10% finer of soil is finer than this size. D size is known as your effective soil. So coefficient of curvature Cc, it is given by D30 square upon D60 into D10. So relative density or density index, most important for grained soils, indicates relative compactness of soil. Id equals to E max minus E upon E max minus E minimum into 100. So E max is your maximum void ratio in loosened state, E minimum is your minimum void ratio in densest state, and E is your natural void ratio. The range is 0 less than Id less than 100. Limits. Limits of consistency are Atterberg's limits, mostly for fine-grained soils such as black cotton and bentonite soils. Atterberg's divided the entire range liquid to solid state into 4 stages. One is your liquid state, second is your plastic state, third is your semi-solid state, another is your solid state. Atterberg limits are the water contents at which the soil mass passes from one state to the next state. So first is there is a volume on y-axis and water content on x-axis. First there is a dry soil, then if you add water then it will go to semi solid soil, again you add water then it will go to plastic state, again if you add water then it will give to liquid state, and after liquid state it will become liquid in the next stage. So for first stage the soil solid is 0, then it will be Vd, volume of dry soil, then it is shrinkage ratio, Wp is plastic limit, and Wl is your liquid limit, and Ws is your shrinkage limit, and W is your water content. So this is for all today's students. In next class we'll see the different types of limits. Thank you for today. Thank you so much.